Welcome to the Precision Texturing, and we'll be going over a few basic things here. And if we hover over the first button, this is a 1-to-1 ratio. We are going to be using this with the Projection Master, and what this does, we'll set the mesh at 1-to-1 ratio for a good projection. Now, this will activate the Projection Master when I do this, and I'll show you later. But the script does not have the Projection Master coding in it. All it does is activate the Projection Master tab. Pixelator is the one that came up with that, and he's got the rights to that. And I'll show you the reason why I did that. But anyway, then we got the 1-to-1. What this does is the same thing as this, but it don't activate the Projection Master. The same way with the 2-to-1 ratio. What this does is actually half of the 1-to-1 ratio. And this one here will set the 2-to-1 ratio without activating the Projection Master. And for the Projection Master to work, we got this little slider here. This creates a blank texture, the height and width at equal size. The Projection Master likes it this way, and it works best this way when the texture is at equal size. But anyway, let's get started. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to load the config here. When I click it, these buttons over here on the left hand side got loaded. So let me go ahead and get started here. I got a cylinder here. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to convert this to a Polymesh 3D. I'm going to set the UVs on this to GUV tiles. And I'm going to go to geometry, and I'm going to give it 4 subdivisions, so it'll have 4 subdivisions levels. Alright, now this is the 1-to-1 ratio, and this is 2-to-1. Now if I press this here, this will center it in the canvas and be ready for the Projection Master. Or I can set it to 1-to-1 ratio. And we'll set that back down. Now this slider down here, like I said, will make a blank texture. I can select any color I want, and if I move the slider, it created a texture at 1920 by 1920, the same thing that's in the slider here. That's the lowest it will go, is 1920 to 1920. The highest it will go is 4096. Now the reason I went to 1920 to 1920 is because it's double the highest value in the document. Anyway, well, let's get started here, and I'm going to convert this material back over here, something better to see. Alright, I'm going to press the 1-to-1 ratio. This will activate the Projection Master. And we'll also have the texture up here that's going to be used with it. We'll turn off fade here, and we'll drop the model here. Now sometimes this might get big. You can zoom it if you want to. But anyway, I'm going to find a texture here that's got some good detail to it, where maybe the Projection Master would really mess up on this, so I'm going to try to give him a little hard time here. Okay, I'm going to set my draw size up to, let's say, about close to 150. There's 149. I'm going to set my color up all the way. And I'm going to drag it here in the canvas here, and I'm going to choose Projection Master. As when the Projection Master got done, as you notice, a lot of times the texture will shift a little bit. That indicates the texture could be a little bit small, or it could be for other reasons. The reason why I set this to the lowest value at 1920 is because at 1024 or anything lower than that, it could distort or get really blurry. So now that I got this on there, let's say I wanted to project at 2:1 ratio. This is half the size, so I'm going to put my draw size to half the size, just for demonstration. So that'll be around 75, or close to it. As you can see, if I put my mouse over here, it is the same size. Choose a Projection Master. And as you notice, it looks like they both pretty much they look the same. So let's enlarge this and take a little better look. If I zoom in here a little bit, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but the bottom one's a little bit blurry. As an example, why not to use a texture or a small texture? This demonstration, I'll just go ahead and select I'll make a texture at, let's say, 512 by 512. And we're going to go back to the 1:1 ratio, and we'll repeat the steps. As you can see, that the texture got pretty distorted. So we'll go ahead and do this here. Set the draw size down to half, or close to half. As you can see, the texture is pretty distorted here. You can use the Projection Master if you want to, without using these buttons, if I wanted to manually do it, and just go ahead and click up here, whatever you prefer. But the reason why I chose these buttons to activate the Projection Master is that way I don't have to select this button, then turn around and have to select that button. I can just select one at a time. Alright, let's go ahead and let's create another blank texture here. And this time we'll go ahead and set it at ratio 2:1. Now you can scale larger than 2:1, but don't scale smaller than 2:1, because this is what will happen. So this is 2:1. This is the smallest ratio there is. If I was to scale it and use the Projection Master on it, as you can see, it got pretty blurry there. This is a pretty good sized texture. So let me just go ahead and flip this around here and do it like it was supposed to be. And we'll flip it around. As you can see, this side here is blurry, and we'll zoom this up a little bit so you can see it. This is from scaling it too low, lower than the 2-to-1 ratio. And here's 2-to-1 ratio. As you can see, it's pretty clean. I'm going to be loading up the next tutorial, and I'm going to pause the video. Here's a default model that comes with Zbrush that I had poly painted, and I'm going to show you how to convert this to a texture map and why you would use this with the precision texturing and why you would use it with for poly painting. Well, poly painting it textures each polygon by each polygon. So if the polygons are tight in one area and you don't have enough in the other area, and you try crossing the two while you're doing something, you'll come up with some different results. Let me just show you. Now the face here has a lot of polygons in it. Let me zoom this up so you can see it a little bit better. Not very distorted at all, just a little bit. Let's go down into the neck area here. I'll start up here and start dragging down here. As you can see, there's not enough polygons down here in the neck area, and the poly painting, like I said, it paints per polygon, per face. So I want to convert this over to use with the precision texturing. What I need to do is I need to go over into the geometry, and I'm going to, before I do that, I'm going to need to convert this to a texture map, and by default it'll make one at 1024 by 1024, but I want a different one a little bit larger because Zbrush Projection Master, I believe, doesn't work that good. It works good enough, but it don't work that good when you come to something that's got a lot of detail to it. So I'll just make one here. I'll just blow it all the way up to 4096 here. And if you see here in a second, it made a blank texture at 4096 by 4096. What I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and set my subdivision down to 1. Then I'm going to go over to the texture tab, enable UVs. Now this thing don't have no UVs yet. I'm going to set this one to GUV tiles. It may differ with your mesh, so you might have to experiment with it. As you can see, it stripped the poly paint right off that, but it's still there. With the default model, it probably looks a little different because I smoothed this head up a little bit. Then I'm going to go over here and press color to texture. As you can see, it converted a texture over here. But the proper way to do this is, I just wanted to show you both ways. I'm going to convert another one here. Let's just disable the UVs again. Just go through here. Like I said, it's set down to 1. We'll enable the UVs. Press GUV tiles. What we need to do is we need to go back over here and set the subdivision level at the highest level it would go. Then we'll go back here, press color to texture. Now this 4096, 40 by 96 going to be working very well with the precision texturing. Alright, let's get started with the precision texturing. Let me show you a little thing here. This model is over here and I press 2 to 1. It'll set it at 2 to 1 and always centered it in the middle of the canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and go for that neck area here where there's not that many polygons, and we'll compare the poly paint with the precision texturing. As you can see here, let me turn it a little bit, and we'll go ahead and zoom this in. As you remember, when we was trying to do this with poly painting, it got distorted down here because didn't have enough polygons on it. And poly painting, like I said, it paints on each face. So as you can see, there's a big difference here. Now you might want to go ahead and if you're doing some texturing on this, you know, if you're like doing a little bit of skin and it don't take a lot of detail, sure, just go ahead and use this right here, the 2 to 1 ratio. Now if you wanted to get a little bit more detail, and maybe up in the hairline and stuff, then we'll switch over to the 1 to 1 ratio. I'm going to pause the video and load up the next section. This tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get the best out of your image so we don't get a lot of jagged edges. We're going to go ahead and set this at a 1 to 1 ratio. I'm going to show you some do's and some don'ts. I'm going to go ahead and move this guy over here. Now when you set this at actual and you go to document and you export it, it will export the height and width of the document. If you press half and the document says the same as it did before, it will do half that value when it saves it. If you go to document and you press double and you want to try increasing your image, as you can see, that thing got pretty jagged around here, around the neck, actually the whole outline of the whole image here. If you properly want to make an image look really good, what we'll do is set this down to half, and we'll go ahead and use the zoom on here. Zoom has no effect. As long as you are in actual, zoom has no effect when you save it. It'll still save at the full range or document size. So this time I'm going to go ahead Let's make them about the same height. You might not notice anything in the video because it has to be really zoomed in, and I'll see if I can do that for you here in a second. Okay, the one on the left is now dropped on the canvas. Let's take a look at the both, and let's go to actual size. As this is the one right here that had all the jaggeds around it, and here's the new one that was just brought on the canvas and dropped. This thing is looking good. It don't have no jagged edges. You can tell exactly right down in this area, this has a lot of jagged edges. And compared to this one over here, almost none. And when the document size is doubled, you can go ahead and press half, then go ahead and document, then export your model. And that way you can save it and it'll get rid of the edges. Now let's do this in order. What you would do is first clear the canvas. You would set your document size to whatever you wanted. Let's go to half right here right now, so I can see what I'm doing. Then you'd bring your model on the canvas. You would go to actual size, and we need to zoom a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and scale this guy up quite big to fill the canvas. Like I said, the zoom has no effect. If you're unsure what you need to do, just go back to actual size, document, then export it. One quick walkthrough before I finish here, just to go through the basics with you one more time. Very simple. I like to select my white color. You can select any texture size in here. They're all pretty much safe size. Give you a lot of texture size. Select it. You got your new texture. Now you're ready to begin. That's basically about it. As long as you got your UV set. So I'm ready to start. Set the texture master, or projection master, I'm sorry. Select whatever you want. Select a color. Select your own ratio, 2:1 or 1:1, whatever you prefer. Zoom this up a little bit here, or enlarge it. But anyway, this pretty much wraps it up, and thank you very much. Oh, and by the way, there will be a link to this plugin if you're wanting to try it. I'll have it posted somewhere by the video, so keep an eye on it. Thank you.